All right, you guys, I'm going to make a video on how to do the Desmos activity from today so you guys could check your work, kind of review some of the stuff that was taught in the Edpuzzle videos and the Nearpod activity today. Um, so those are good resources to go back and look at, okay, when you guys have questions. So here's a linear function. I know that because it's a line, right? It starts when x is -6. It ends when x is 4. The open circle means that it's not included. The closed circle means that it is included. So when it says what's the domain, right? We learned in class Monday with the Edpuzzle videos that domain is the inputs. So for what x values does this graph exist? And so that exists from -6, okay, to +4. All right, so you guys can see that right there by just looking at the graph. But how do I type that in? Okay, so with interval notation, I need to use parentheses and brackets. Okay, so we learn that parentheses means it's excluded, it's not included. And we learn that a bracket means it is included. So we know that it's going to start at -6 and that it's not included there because of the empty circle. So we use parenthesis, -6, comma, and it goes all the way to +4. But on +4, it is included, so I use a bracket. And that's it for the domain, just the x values. Always smallest to greatest. Okay, now the range is the outputs, the y values. What is the lowest y value in this graph? The lowest y value is 0, and the highest y value is 5. So the range is just between 0 and 5. And again, at 0, it's not included, and at +5, it is included. So it's going to be parenthesis, 0, comma, 5, and the 5 is going to be in a bracket. Right? And so that is the range. Okay, now I need to take those answers, okay, and those are what I need to put in my assignment here. So when I go back to Canvas, right, it said to type in the domain and range from slide 1 and slide 2. So we're going to hit Submit Assignment, and the text box entry shows up. So I'm going to go ahead and put in there slide 1, domain, okay, and that was parenthesis, -6, +4 bracket, and the range was -5 to 0, or sorry, it was 0 to 5. Switched up my numbers there. Okay, so I'm just typing, I'm copying that from what I typed in on Desmos. Now I'm going to go back to Desmos and finish that slide. Okay, so how do I type in the function? Well, we talked about that last week. It's just y equals mx plus b. What's the slope? The slope is up 1 over 2, and the y-intercept is 3. So it's simply g of x equals, I'm using g of x because that's what it said to use up here, and that's what they called it in the title. If you put y, it's not a big deal, okay, and it's 1/2 x plus 3. All right, and so linear function is done. Now we just have to check off all that apply here. So this is what the videos in the Nearpod video explained. So what does g of 2 equals 4 mean? It means when x is 2, y is 4. So I just need to check, is that a true statement? When x is 2, is y 4? You go over, and yes, it is. So that is a true statement. Okay. When this one says when x is 4, y is 2. So I go over to when x is 4, and I go up to 2, and the graph does not exist there. So that is a false statement. Again, all I'm doing is I'm looking, okay, at the graph. Okay, now g of 0 equals 3. So this means when x is 0, y is 3. So when x is 0, y is 3. That is a true statement. Okay, so that we'll go ahead and we'll check off. Okay, the y-intercept is when x equals 0. Right? That is always a true statement, right? That's the only time that the y-axis is when x is 0. So that's always true. Okay, the y-intercept is 0, 3. Yes, that is also true. Okay, so here, g of x equals 5 when x is 5. So they're saying that when x is 5, y is 5. So we'll check that out. When x is 5, the graph doesn't even exist. So that is definitely false. This one says that when x is 4, y is 5. Now when x is 4, is y 5? Yes, that is true. And then the bottom one, g of negative 4 equals 1. So again, when x is negative 4, is y 1? And that is yes. Okay, so that is the first slide being done. Now slide 2 is a little bit more challenging because it is a quadratic. All right, so when I get to the function part, it's going to be a little bit harder, but I gave you a hint up here on what goes in. All right, so let's do the domain first. All right, so in the videos, okay, when the graph hits the window frame, that means that the graph is going to continue forever. I don't need arrows if I hit the window frame. All right, so this means that the graph is going to continue left forever, and it's going to continue right forever, and it's going to continue up forever. Okay, so my domain is all real numbers because it's going to continue left forever, it's going to continue right forever. All right, which is different than the previous slide where I had endpoints. Okay, those had endpoints. This graph does not have any endpoints. Okay, so it means it goes on forever. So how do you do the domain? All right, and so got to go parentheses because it's infinity. Does this let me have infinity on here? Nope. All right, so I'm going to just type in the word negative infinity, comma, positive infinity. And you can spell it out or just abbreviate it like that. Okay, the range, the lowest y value is -4, and it goes up forever. Okay, it actually hits -4, so that has to be in brackets, and it goes up to infinity. And infinity is always in parentheses because you cannot get there. Okay, now this one is a little bit tougher. Let me go ahead and finish up my Canvas assignment. Now I got to just type those in, okay, into the Canvas app here. So slide 2, the domain. Now, and here they actually do have math equation thing. So I can see if I could find infinity in here. Right there. Okay, so it'll be parenthesis negative infinity, comma positive infinity, and then the range was -4 to infinity. Now let me switch it up. So I'll do this. Okay, so -4 infinity. Come out here and put the brackets on it. bracket there, parenthesis there. All right, and so that's all you needed to do, okay, for the Canvas part. So hit submit, and that part's done. And I will come back and finish up this. All right, so here's the hard part on this one. How do I write the equation? It's right up here. It's in this form. So I need to figure out what h and k are. What numbers are those? Okay, and it says right here, h and k is the vertex. So what is the vertex? What is that point? Okay, the point is 3, -4. So wherever there's an h, I'm going to plug in 3, and where there's a k, I'm going to plug in -4. And everything else stays the same. So I'm going to go p of x equals parenthesis x minus 3 squared, and then k is -4. So I'm going to, instead of going plus -4, I'm just going to go -4. Okay, and that is a review from Algebra 1, something you guys have not seen in a very long time, but you guys learned in the second semester of Algebra 1. That is called a quadratic function, and that's written in vertex form. Okay, you got something you guys are expected to know in Algebra 2. So I'm glad we got a chance to do a quick little review, and we will continue to work on that. Okay. Now we just have to say what's true. So p of x equals 0 has one solution. So when y is 0, it has one solution. Okay, so when y is 0, it actually has two solutions. It hits it twice. That is not true. So then I answered the second one. It has two solutions, at 1 and at 5. All right, p of x equals -4 has one solution. So since that's the vertex, that means that it only has one solution, and that solution would have been 3. P of -5 has one solution. Well, the graph never actually is never equal to -5, so that doesn't exist. Okay, so that is false. P of 0 equals 5. When x is 0, the graph is 5. That is true. So obviously this next one is false. When x is 0, y is not 1. The range is all real numbers. Nope, we already answered that. The domain is all real numbers, and that is true. All right, so that slide is done. And now here we need to match. It says match each of the two graphs to the 5 true facts. So we have two graphs. This is a quadratic. Okay? And this is what we call a piecewise function. It's just made up of 3 different linear functions. And so we need to answer the ones that are true. So which graph has a y-intercept of 3? All right, so this one has a y-intercept of 3. Okay, which one has a domain from -4 to 8? Okay, well, that domain is all real numbers, so it must be this one. Okay, f of 0 equals 3. So again, that's the same thing as saying the y-intercept is 3. So that goes there. F of -1 is 2. So that's going to be when x is 1, y is 2. -4 equals 5. F of -4 is +5. So that is that one. So when x is -4, y is 5. When x is +4, y is -2. So that is going to be 4, no, 1, 2. So it's got to be this one. And then the range is -5 to 3. That's this one. Y-intercept of 5. Range is 1 to infinity. That is definitely true. When f of x equals 2, or f of x equals 2 when x is -2. So when x is -2, y is 2, so that goes here. All right, and so that's how you do the Desmos activity. Again, it's the notation, it's the language of math that you have to be aware of. Okay, so I recommend going back and watching some of those videos in the Nearpod activity where I talk about how to read and interpret graphs with function notation.